Farewell, old friend. Here it is, the Antec super huge case. So I always meant to make a video about the GPU test setup, but it was always incomplete, and now I'm gonna change it. But I wanted to show you that cool thing here. I actually ended up starting to like this. Don't turn it on. Okay. So it had a separate external slot for the SATA. And people used to think that was stupid, but actually it came in handy because I was able to try different hard drives in here without changing everything. The only thing is, every time when you pull this out, it accidentally turns on the power. So it's a full SATA port inside, see? But this whole setup is basically out of spare parts, and it's not working that well, and it kind of looks weird. So I'm gonna change it to that big case that I showed you, but before I do, I'm gonna overclock the CPU one more time, and you'll see that in a minute. And then I just wanted you to see what was inside. So this is the Asus sabertooth x58 motherboard that was in the Godzilla build. This is the GTX Titan that I was testing yesterday. This is the Cooler Master V8 cooler that came in, actually it came in this case. And I just put that there because it looks cool. But there's several problems with this setup. First of all, I'm changing the GPU, let's say, every day. And when the case was upright, it would be hard to, I'd have to turn it and then get it in there and all that. So that's why I put it horizontally. But it's so big horizontally. Also, the motherboard has issues. The power supply mounting is weird, so it's this way instead of that way. There's no holes down here. So then the power supply cable has to come all the way around here for the motherboard. And then all the fans are Molex, so I don't even use the fans. And I was gonna change the fan, but then there's a little controller there that you would have to take out that controls the fan speed. So I don't want to do all that. I've just been using it as an open case, basically. But it's so big, I want to try something else. So yeah, we did overclock this CPU before. I want to try it again, just to see if I can get a little bit better result. Because when I was overclocking it before, I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just copying other people's settings. But I joined a forum for x58 enthusiasts, and they gave me some good tips. I still have a feeling that the motherboard might be the problem. See, the two memory slots there don't work, so you can't run in triple channel. And then look, so you have the SATA power has to come up all the way to the top to go to that external port. So this whole setup is just not ideal. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna switch to this motherboard. Which you've seen before. This motherboard was in a PC that I picked up off of Craigslist. I'm not sure if that cooler is gonna fit on there. I might use something different. So the previous motherboard is x58, this is x79. There is a i7 4820K there. And I guess this doesn't have triple channel, right? Yeah, no, it doesn't still. Okay. This should be faster. It has triple SLI ports in it, so maybe we'll do something crazy one day. I just put this here just to be funny. It looks like SLI, but it's not. And yeah, we're gonna put this motherboard, hopefully that cooler, in the big case that I just posted about. And that will be the new test bench, because now the motherboard is horizontally mounted by default, so it'll be easier to go in and out. Also, with SLI, potentially you could have 2 GPUs in at the same time, and you could test each one individually, just for benchmarking and stuff. But yeah, that's the update. So now let's get to the overclocking. I'm gonna pull up my old results. I still have in my spreadsheet, I believe. We're gonna see if we can get it the same results or better. This is not the cooler I was using when I first overclocked. Also, this cooler, the fan in here is, I think it's an 80 millimeter, and it's really loud. Watch, listen. That's the only noise that's made, is the CPU cooler. I just wanted to show you this real quick. This is the results of the overclock. This is CPU Z. So this is what some people use to check their performance and to specs and stuff like that. And then there's a little benchmark in here. So I used to use Cinebench, but Cinebench is 10 minutes long. So I found out, a friend of mine showed me this. You can just benchmark this real quick in here. And the goal for this, so originally it's a 2.67 gigahertz processor. That's the original speed. It's currently running at 4.7. It's actually set to 4.6, so like 4.6x. So it's 22. I have this set to 22, but it says 23, and then 205 buzz speed. And then the voltage is 1.45 is what I put in the motherboard, but it kind of changes it a little bit. And then that's the temperature at idle. So you'll see now, watch when we run this bench, it gets up there pretty quick. I think it goes up to 91, 92 at some point. But what happens sometimes, the reason why I don't like running it this fast is because what'll happen is it'll sort of, see, like it was 29 a second ago, now it's 27. What happens is the processor will sort of, I'm not sure if the motherboard does it or the processor, but it sort of hits the limiter, and it'll bounce off the gigahertz, and it'll pull it back. So it'll go 4.6, 4.7, then it pulls it back to 4, then it goes back up again, then it goes up, you know. That's maybe a safety feature, I don't know, maybe you guys can tell me. So 6 cores, 12 threads. So when I was using this, I was using it at 4.4 because that was the most reliable setting. But I wanted to get 3000 here, so I ended up pushing it a little further to get to the 3000. But see, once you get over 90, 93, you'll see it just drops at some point. So it doesn't like that. And this cooler is, the thing is, this is a really expensive cooler, but it doesn't cool very well. It just looks cool, but it doesn't actually cool. So this is the x5650, and this is the result here. So 4.7 gigahertz. The result was 2953. That was the best I could get this time. And that's comparable to, it says Ryzen 5 and i7 5th gen. I don't know if that's true or not. That seems a little generous. I pretty much compared it to an i7 3rd gen or something like that. In reality, the benchmark I don't think tells you the real story. So here's the numbers of how it went. So we started at 2.7, it was 1943. Then we went to 3.5, 2000. Then we went to 3.4, 3.9, 2700. 4.4, it actually hit 29. So this would be 4.6 something. And that's going to be 2953. 22, 205, 1.45. Idle temp was what, 58? See? And max was 93. But it didn't go up from there because it pulled itself back. So now the new processor that's going in with the x79 motherboard, that, as far as I recall, it benchmarks about the same. And you would say, well, why would you do that? It's because that's, let me see the specs on this again. 1 second. A i7-4820K should be, is that 4 cores? Yeah, 4 cores, 8 threads. And it starts at 3.9. So this processor running a very gentle overclock will beat this processor with an, this is too much of an overclock, you know, coming from 2.7 and 4.6. So it's, all it's doing for me is putting less stress on the system. And then eventually I can replace this 4820K with a 6-core 12 thread. Let's see, x79 xeon processor. So it opens up the possibilities. Apparently the 4820K isn't really a great processor. When I tried to overclock it, it didn't really like it that much, and I was able to get 34, 33 maybe, but it wasn't. And basically anything I did to it other than just a little bump in clock speed, it just would crash. And I don't know if that had something to do with the motherboard or the memory. It's an EVGA motherboard, so I would think that it would be capable of it, but we'll see. We'll say farewell to this. I wish that I would have found an x5690 to put in here. But as I mentioned, this motherboard seems to be damaged in some way, and it's proven to be questionable under overclocking. It works fine in the stock configuration, it works fine, so I'm still going to sell it, but as far as overclocking goes, I feel like I'm missing out on something. So yeah, farewell to this one, and then we'll do another video when I get the x79 set up. So we'll see ya.